had his beloved football players who did whatever he asked. I think he just told them it was spring football, and those Rockheads didn't notice the sticks until mid-season. Furman sent me a note saying he recalled Bradzer insisting that we do an outdoor practice after we received 10 inches of snow. The field wasn't plowed, and we talked about how it would make, he said he lobbied Bradzer to do the practice indoors in the gym. He said no, and we proceeded to lose all the balls in the first 10 minutes outdoors. So he then concluded it made sense to go into the gym, but another team had beaten us there. So practice that day consisted of running up and down the high school halls, cradling balls. So we were definitely the best cradling team in Section 10. A couple of other folks remembered Jesse Coburn got hit in the groin every single practice. The narrative was, why is Jesse on the ground? He got hit in the groin again. Yes, day after day after day. And I remember standing on the defensive end of the field, and we would run an offense called the wheel, which I had never seen. I'd seen a lot of lacrosse. I'd never seen the wheel before, but that's where the attack and the middies all pull out to the restraining line area, sort of in 10, 20 yards out from the goal, and run in a circle. And I don't know if he learned that in Adelphia or if it was something he saw in a Grateful Dead parking lot, but it was brilliant because all the teams that saw us do it concluded we had no idea what we were doing, and then we could sneak up on them. I guess finally, during our trip to Colony, one of the other memories that was sent along was that we stopped at a Kmart near Albany. I don't know why, like cultural enrichment or something, but and the whole team files in, and we're Brazos counting heads, and there's one person missing. He's like, who are we missing? And next moment, over the PA system, we hear Bill Bascom's voice. Attention Kmart shoppers, there is a blue light special on aisle 5. So, anyway, I think the individual honors have already been well mentioned. Tim Wenner was our leading scorer at 52 goals and 18 assists. He was an All-American. Corey Jordan had 34 goals and 12 assists. He was the number 2 scorer. Tom Ryan, who went on to even greater things in college lacrosse and professional lacrosse, was the team's assist leader and a big scorer himself. Pete Whittier, John Filiatro, others. At midfield, Leith, Greg Kraut, Pete Whittier, Tim Youngs, Mike McGurk. And then on defense, my wingmen, Firm Dog, Phil Royce, Franz Klausner, and then finally, Bill Bascom. And I'll come back to Bill. I'm sorry he couldn't be here tonight because he was a really integral part of that team. Not only was he a stellar goalie and I think a high school All-American that year, but I went through Brazzer's stat book, which he still has, and Bascom was the 5th leading goal scorer on that team as a goalie. You heard that right. You heard that right. So he was the number 5 goal scorer, which would have put him, I think, number 2 as a midi after Leith. So anyway, I just want to thank, I'll wrap it up with that. Thanks again for this special recognition. This really is a special place. I'm immensely thankful for everything that all the people in this room did for me, coaches, teachers, and others. And we'll look forward to having a cocktail with you here at the reception. Thanks so much.
First thing I want to do is thank Frank Wick for keeping us on schedule early on. They used up all your time. Larry, you have none left. Brooke, you said wrap it up 3 different times. And finally once. I stood up twice. Brad, you did a good job this year. You did not talk about your vegetable garden once or your upbringing in Pennsylvania, so I'm proud of you. Our last inductee is the 1995-96 boys basketball team. Presenting for them is Larry Jenny and Brian Torrio.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, Brasser. I think obviously he gave them some drinks and Kool-Aid that had something in it that just continued to stay with those guys so they talk as much as he does. So, but you got to drink the Kool-Aid if you want to be part of something special like those lacrosse teams. So, and I can't, the records Brasser has are amazing. I'm just glad, I guess, I thought I was going to follow him and be okay. but it's tough to follow acts like that. I had a team similar to these guys, but before I start, I'd like to begin by congratulating all the inductees tonight, thanking the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for honoring this special group of hoodlums over here in the corner. I don't know why they got put in the corner, but I guess maybe I'll describe that later. 22 years ago, there were many people who supported and guided this team, both on and, as Dave said, off the court. I would like to thank the parents first for raising amazing young men, their teachers and coaches, school administrators, and I was fortunate enough to have not only my boss, Art Quackenbush, his son on my team, but the superintendent's son on my team. I didn't get fired, close, but I made it through the season. The custodians and bus drivers, the hours they put in to help us, and the supportive fans who rocked the Hooley Dome for every home game. And I can vividly remember looking across almost at every game and see Smell, Rigsby, and all those guys sitting over there, Brian Smith, right in that first row supporting that team, and how special that was. I would also like to thank the people that directly supported me and mentored me through my years here as I coached. First and foremost, my wife and daughter for their love and support. Basketball seasons are long, long seasons. To Coach Hourhand, for mentoring me, sometimes good, sometimes bad, and for building a rich tradition of basketball here at Canton Central, prior to my arrival. Roger Ducharme, who was my JV coach, for his work in developing our young players and preparing them for the varsity level. Pat Casey, for his dedication to running the clock and scorer's table for both Coach Hourhand and myself for over 30 years. Coach Wayne Roulette, for his longtime friendship and guidance throughout my years. Coach Bill Porter, my assistant, for being really the brains behind the operation and staying calm when all hell broke loose during practice and games. Lastly, to anyone I failed to mention, for the part you played in this team's success, thank you so much. This 1996 team of 16 basketball players has a special place in my heart. I had the pleasure to spend hours of coaching this group of young men during that season, which has provided me with many, many incredible memories that I cherish to this day. This team always put, quote unquote, being a class act before winning. The class act that this team demonstrated started with the two captains that this team elected, Duke, the Duker Brown, and Brian Happy Meal Trio. They were two young men, quote unquote, men on a mission, they said. Duker even had it tattooed on his arm, MOM. That's Duke. They set a goal to get this team to the New York State Basketball Final Four in Glens Falls, the day after we lost to Potsdam in the playoffs a year before. I have the utmost respect for their daily commitment as leaders to ensure that the team worked hard in the classroom and on the court, and that every team member understood that their role was important in helping the team reach the goal. Thank you to Duker and Brian for demonstrating the qualities of a team captain so very well, and for making my job as a coach so much easier. Each player on this team has special qualities that I've never seen or never coached before. Each team member knew their role, which very rarely happens on this team. They were very unselfish, and each contributed to our own team success. Every player worked equally as hard as the other in practice daily, which is what made us better every day. Every player encouraged and supported the others when they deserved the recognition. There was no big egos, we call those big timers on this team, and everyone bought into our team philosophy. I could talk about my starting five and the guys that played every day, and played in most of the games, who made the headlines for hours, and all the other guys. But Coach Rigg only gave me an hour. He gave Dave 30 minutes, so I'll try to do it within an hour and save those stories for later. However, I got to mention a few players who, quote unquote, stood out on the team that year. The first was a young man who was 7 foot tall, a basketball coach's dream. In northern New York, we didn't have those guys. Well, I had one. Came from Africa. I'm not sure how he landed in Canton, but I wasn't going to question that. We thought we were golden and had a shot at getting to the Final Four with Doug DeWall on our team. Back and forth, Eligible, ineligible, eligible, ineligible. Finally, Section 10 said Doug is not eligible to play and never played one game that year. But he became my assistant coach. But what was remarkable about Doug is that he showed up for practice every day, was on the bench for every game. And that unselfishness and his commitment to the team was just another example of why this team had such success. Secondly, there was a group of young men who were on the bench for each game who didn't see much time on the court during most games, but they were the best sixth man any coach could have. These team members were an integral part of this team, and they played their roles exceptionally well. They came to practice every day ready to work to make themselves better, and they made us better. Their names were rarely mentioned in the headlines like Smitty, but they deserved as much credit for our success. Matt the Comper Campo, Corey the Shoes Schumann, Jesse McAllister, Nate Bellinger, Rob Riverwick Carrillo, Andy Downtown Downing, Ryan Lloyd Losey, and Bill Wayman Tisdale. I thank you for your commitment to this team and what you did to help our team be so successful. Game day. Game day was always a great day for this team. We all wore our new, but now outdated jumpsuits to school. End of the game to show our unity and our team philosophy. We were one. And as Brooke said, we had that philosophy of fist. The boys were always focused on the task at hand and made sure that they had their fast food, carbo load before the game. But my favorite part of the day was pre-game in the locker room, when we broke down our game plan for the game and then went through the same quote-unquote keys for each night that I read every single night for every single game. And those things were this: focus on the right things, communication, great defense, patience on offense, win with teamwork, refuse to lose. Number 2, we don't need any big timers. Be humble and unselfish, play with class, praise each other, respect the other team and teammates, don't talk to the officials, and hand them the basketball. Number 3, we have a job to do. Execute, few turnovers, great opportunities on offense, create opportunities on offense and defense, go hard while on the floor. We need all loose balls. And Duker, I read this like 3 times for Duker every night. Don't reach on defense, hands wide, and don't get baseline or paint. And number 4 was chemistry. We don't need any me-firstism. We need role players, and we need a fist. And the last one was take 30. And take 30 meant we took 30 seconds when we sat in silence before every game. We thought about how fortunate we were to be a team and have the opportunity that others may not have. And to be grateful and thankful for our health and physical abilities that we often take for granted. And then it was game time, and these boys always came to play. It's been 22 years since we were all together as a team, running deep sixes in the Hooley Dome, doing the deck that Coach Porter created, running our favorite 3-on-3 continuation drill, wearing the Golden Bear jersey on game days, and cutting down the net as Section 10 champions. But those memories will last forever. I'm so proud of this team and grateful I had the opportunity to coach this fine group of men. Many are here tonight, and some are here in spirit. And at this time, I want to read the names of our team and would like them to come up to the stage. Andy Smith, Duke the Duker Brown, Matt Campo, Bob Winkowski, Justin Todd, Corey the Shoes Schumann, Jesse McAllister, Nate Bellinger, Rob Cruiser, Brian Happy Meal Terrell, Rob Terrell, Jay Quackenbush, Andy Downey, Dominic Manu, he was our German import, Bill Tisdale, Ryan Losey, and Doug DeWalt.
Make a lot of noise with this little the last time I had to give a speech was in Mrs. Hayden's English 12 class, so it's been 22 years since then, so I'll give it my best. I think I was going to give Kevy Race a run for his money tonight and see how long I could go, but I think my limiting factor tonight is going to be Wayman J. Tisdale and how long it is before he needs to take a seat, so. Billy's twice the man he used to be. This was a special team, and one thing, this team, I compare all other teams I'm on in life now with what these guys were. They're the benchmark. If I'm playing noon ball with a bunch of guys pick up, or if I'm putting together a design construction team for a project at work. It's the benchmark of how these guys all work together as a team, as one, to accomplish a great goal. So tonight it was between Duke or I to do the speaking, and Wad, I think, wisely chose me. He says, dude, he can't do it. You got to do this for us. All right, I will. So I'd like to congratulate all the other inductees into the Hall of Fame. It's just great to be a Golden Bear. So I want to thank Coach Porter for his invention of the deck, because that was the conditioning thing. I think we're very proud of what we could do with the deck. Coach Jenny, I think his goal at the beginning of the season was to get us to be the best conditioned team ever assembled. We could run, I swear to God, for 3 games in a row and never miss a beat. We were in such great shape. I wrote this on my son's cursive tablet this morning, trying to. All right, we'll get to the good stuff here. So, we all knew that this season was going to be special. It was our season. As the regular season started, we're on fire. 6-0 run, followed by a loss, and another 6-0 run. Those games in previous season where we were falling short, we were winning. Last night, Coach handed us a packet with all the newspaper clippings from that season. And just reading through them, it was the same story over and over again. Teams would play us close to the third quarter, then we just took over and would bury them in the fourth. One game that stands out to me was a Messina game in Messina. Down 12-1 in the first. Coach calls a timeout. He looks at all of us in the huddle. All he says is, now we'll see what you're made of. I remember looking around the huddle, and there were no looks of defeat, just looks of determination. We came out and went on a 26-2 run, and then went on to win by 13. I knew then that we had what it takes to be champions. I could go on and on about game highlights, but Neil Riggs told me I can't do that. We'll talk about that later. So our classmates, friends, families, and the public got to watch us 32 minutes a couple times a week in games. They didn't get to see what made this season so special. Practice. It was behind the scenes festivities that made it so fun. We loved practice. The positive atmosphere in the gym was electrifying. It was hard to explain, but we all wanted to be there. Coach would script this practice, keep us on task. We'd always start with a motivational speech, preach about teamwork, or how there's no room for me-persisms, and his famous fist. This team would love to do all the gritty drills. Cheers would fill the gym when Coach would announce we were going to do the take a charge drill. We all wanted to see who could get the bloodiest. We also loved his loose ball drill, which was basically a fumble drill from football without the pads. And by watching today's game, looks like the 96 boys could teach this football team a thing or two about recovered fumble. But it wasn't practice that an outside observer would realize that this group of kids was a real special team. There was no backbiting, there was no infighting, there was no complaining they didn't get the ball enough or didn't see the floor enough. Everyone had a role. Everyone got along. Bench players would push the starters to their maximum potential. Starters respected the bench. We were all equals. So we spent a lot of time together in the gym, but we also spent a lot of time together outside of the gym, sometimes to our detriment. My favorite story from the season was one practice. We shot free throws as we usually do at the beginning. coach told us, boys, all take a seat on the bench, on the bleachers over there. He calmly stated that he got a call from the Canton PD. Apparently his players were doing donuts in the parking lot last night. I had a Grand Marquis, Wayman had an El Camino, Duker had the Cavalier, I think Nate had his mom's Buick in on this. That was the end of Coach's comments. He proceeded to punt the basketball pretty much through the roof of the Hooley Dome. And the words came, "Get on the line." We proceeded to do figure 8 defensive slides for the rest of practice, but we didn't do just any defensive slides. We carried bricks the whole time. I think the only saving grace that day was his wife Carol came in and we were like guys puking everything. And she's like, "Larry, enough. We got the message, coach. Lesson learned. This team had chemistry. It was a brotherhood. We all bought into what Coach preached. It worked. We done it. We did something that had been done 20 years prior. It wouldn't be repeated for another 21 years. Looking at the newspaper articles last night again reinforced the team aspect. I don't think in the entire season one player on that team had a back-to-back games as high scorer. More often than not, we would have 3 or 4 players in double digits. In one game, we actually had 13 players who scored. Everyone chipped in. Our pride and joy was defense. We loved our goal was not to see how many points we could score, but to see how many points our opponent couldn't score. Personally, the guy you were guarding every night. So, if you look at this crew here, we didn't have much talent. I mean, does this look like a basketball team? There's no way. We didn't have superstars. We were a tough, gritty group of kids that played as a unit. 22-5, and not one player on that team went on to play college. No one really even got a look, although Cruiser did walk on at Syracuse, and according to legend, made a shot in front of Jim Boeheim in open tryout. So that's the amount of college experience this team has. So I think, like Coach said, as a team, we need to thank Carol and Brooke because we pretty much took over her husband and father, pretty much commandeered him so we could accomplish this thing. So those two are a part of this team as well. I need to thank, and no one's mentioned it tonight, Pete Carville and Kevin Richards, our team managers, who provided entertainment like no other throughout the season. And Quack could probably tell stories all night long after this. So, and last, none of this would have happened without leadership. There was a man who took a few farm kids, a superintendent's son, a principal's son, a couple college professor kids, and we can't forget about the Falls boys and turn them into champions. A group who, as stated before, had no talent, or very little talent, but he got them to believe in each other, and for Ribby, play with heart, and believe they could be champions. It was awesome to be part of this. We will remember this season forever, and for the rest of our lives. We owe all our success from this year to Coach Jenny, a true leader. Thank you. His daughter was barking orders last night. I had to write something on a sticky I couldn't understand. She's over here. I think we're going to present this to you. I got mine in my back pocket. Also, I brought this. He gave me this before this. This is a clipboard that I made him in Power Mechanics my senior year. Because the joke with it is he had a clipboard, one of those cardboard ones or something. And that poor clipboard got the ever-loving crap beat out of it all season long. He would take it like this and just pound it on the floor. One time I think he almost took Quackenbush's head off in Ogdensburg and slammed. It was taped, it was beat up, so good times.
Great job, guys. I actually followed this team quite a lot because They beat Herman DeKalb in the overall Section 10 championship that year, and I was teaching and coaching at Herman DeKalb at the time. And I remember both teams, if I'm right, went to Plattsburgh for the first round of the states, and the Section 10 championship was one thing, and Larry was bald the next day. So nobody mentioned that he shaved his head after that too. You guys should have seen him last year. He had hair longer than Duke Brown, so you would never believe that. The funny thing is, Justin Todd, who's not here tonight, he's at the Buffalo Bills game, has been begging the committee for years and years and years that this team should be in here. Funny that you guys do go in and he's not here today, so you can white his picture out on that when you show it to him, all right? The foundation which was laid by these former athletes and teams in this room tonight is very evident today, but the success which is being enjoyed by our current Golden Bear student athletes and teams. The bar has been set very high here at Canton. I just want to mention a few if you don't keep track of our current athletes. Our current athletes right now, our girls swim team has won 89 straight meets. Our girls cross country team has won their second consecutive sectional title. Girls indoor track team, 8th consecutive sectional championship. Boys lacrosse team won the overall Section 10 championship last year. Girls basketball team won the Class B champions for the 5th straight year. Cody Cipher was the All-American lacrosse player. Grace Bizette earned a Division I scholarship in track to UVM. Jack Finnerty won the Jim Pinkerton Award, which is equivalent to the Heisman in baseball. And last, I want to mention this with Coach Porter here, and this basketball team, of anybody will recognize this. Every time you went to practice your whole life, like I did, you looked up at that picture of Hal Cohen. Declan Porter, our Jaskowski Award winner, Bill's youngest son, is 308 points away from breaking Hal Cohen's Section 10 boys scoring record, a record that's been held for 42 years. That record is 1,907 points. Declan is 308 points away. Now some of us, that's a season. For him, that's a week. If you have not seen him play, you need to go watch him play. His team has won 2 consecutive overall Section 10 basketball championships. On the way, they average 4 dunks a game. These 2 teams will be the next 2 teams that go into the Hall of Fame for basketball. If you haven't seen them, go see them this year. I just want to remind people to wrap things up for real. When we go down to the dockside, down at the golf course, you can make a donation down there. It will go to the Hall of Fame so we can put on these proceeds. Also, you can make a donation by buying a brick. If you look outside the gymnasium, there's a pathway with different people's names on it, family names, your name, your kids' names. If you want to buy a brick, that all goes to the Hall of Fame. Special thanks go out to these people: Neil Briggs, Kathy Giglio, Dave Bradman, and Bill Porter. If it wasn't for these people, this Hall of Fame ceremony would not get done. I want to wrap things up. I want to invite everybody to go down to the Hall of Fame, check out the different plaques, and then please go down to the deck side for a few beers here and there, or Kool-Aids or water. Thank you for coming.